Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
All right, 5:05, let's call the Drainage Committee meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all members are present besides Mr. Nathan. Item number one, approval to sweep out outfall on Oak Lane.
Correct. That's a project that's going to assist with the water flow behind Oak Lane. It's all part of the Oak Lane Drainage District. It's going to alleviate the water flow, the water issues behind Edith, and also on the back end, on the north end of Oak Street. It's a survival project.
Total cost of $1,000. Motion by Mr. Carter. Second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. Item number two is going to be,
Here's, we got the back sheet, the back sheet is correct.
actually is correct.
Yes.
Request the approval for a gate valve and T at 133 North Bay Road. Yeah, they just switched up here, but the materials on the bottom of it.
The front cover sheet is incorrect. Look at the back sheet. That's an issue where we continue, whenever the bayou floods, we have to go and continue to put sandbags, and we have to pump the water over the roadway. This would alleviate that problem. We would put a gate valve on to prevent the backwater flooding from getting in the subdivision. We also would put a T on that so we can pump the water out without having to pump the water over the road. We did the same project on Lee Drive by Leona Street about 2 years ago.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Como, second by Mr. Blanchard. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number three, request approval for pump replacement and to clean out the pump basin.
Yeah, and actually, I just got with Ms. Kim that $850 is gonna be $1,400, $1,410. So that's gonna increase the total of the project. That little drainage district is about 7 houses. It's a little small submersible pump, and we would also dig out the basin.
So what is backwards in the report? The cost estimates in the description or the?
The drainage, the cover sheet was wrong. Look at the 3 pages. Use your pages.
Just the title.
The title was
The
wrong.
material is correct, it's just the title.
Okay.
Only on the first page.
And that would be a total cost of $1,860, not 13. Motion by Ms. Blanchard. Second by Mr. Carter. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed?
The next is a deviation, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Next for. Who will deviate?
Right. Request to approve replacement outfall culvert in Lower Texas community.
You gonna do that job within the next 2 weeks?
Yes.
Motion to deviate.
Motion to deviate. Mr. Blanchard,
Second.
second by Mr. Carter. All in favor?
All right.
Before we go to vote, that would be total cost of $200 before we go to vote. Any public comment? First call, second call, third call. No public comment?
On this one, the landowner is providing us a culvert. It's the proper size. When we pump the water out of the pumps on the north side, the water has to pass through this culvert to get to the Himalaya Canal. So it's a viable project. We would just provide the machine to change out the culvert.
What size culvert they have there
It's,
now?
I think there's 24. We put the 24.
24, okay.
Those are in one place, because I think they had two sets of culverts.
We only see one pad. We rode all the way to the back end of Solar Court to the houses. Only seen one.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Blanchard. Second by Mr. Carter. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Carter.
Second.
Second by Mr. Blanchard. Meeting adjourned.
We'll call a 5:10 Finance Committee meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all members are present except for Mr. Alcorn, and Mr. Mathern.
Item 1, approve payment of bills submitted through June 7th, 2023, are included in your packet.
So move.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Nakane, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Selection of physical agent for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, 2-year period.
Yes, we only received one proposal and that was from Capital One. And it's the basic same terms and agreements as the prior contract, except the interest rate that we're going to be earning interest has increased. Our last renewal was right smack dab in the middle of COVID. So things kind of went sour, but the interest rate has climbed up a little bit. So
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carter, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Request authorization to seek additional prices for dumpster services for parish operated locations.
I'll put this on the agenda. I have 2 front lane loaded dumpsters at my yard. They both have been full for 3 weeks. We called the service provider. They said that we had canceled our contract, which we did not. So they I'm having to run around with them, and currently we have 12 front loaded dumpsters in this parish and 1 30-yard roll-off dumpster. I'm just asking the jury if I can go out for approval to get prices from other service providers and see if we can maybe save a little money and I can maybe get a little better customer service.
Oh, why we got so many dumpsters?
Well, we have Attacker Park, all the different, the community center, 2 at Ag Center, the library has 1, Veterans Park, they have 2 right here. It's all our public buildings. Chris,
Who's
they have
servicing them now?
Waste management.
Waste management.
Yeah, you need, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm just asking for approval to go out and
Yeah.
get bids. I'll bring y'all the best prices. Y'all can make the decision when I come back with the prices.
Okay.
But I think we can do a little better with
I'll
our
second the
service,
motion.
our customer service than we have right now. I can't get them empty.
I saw the ones at the barn today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They full.
Motion by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Como. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Sure.
wherever you want to do it, you can do it here.
Yeah, a couple of minutes to do what you got.
All right. So we have a deviation for the purchase of an air condition at the Laverdale substation, sheriff substation.
Yes, I'll put this on the agenda.
Hold on, Mike, just 1 second. Can I get a motion to deviate? Motion by Mr. Carter,
Second.
second by Mr. Nakane. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So we previously did some repairs due to the fact that they had an air conditioner in a lower portion of the building, and it basically deteriorated the bottom half of it. So we removed it, the air conditioner was rusty. We made the repairs, and I'd like to install a split unit in there, and which will alleviate having to cut a hole back in the wall and put a window unit in it. And I got a quote, it's about $4,625 to install the split unit. Ms. Kim informed me there was a maintenance contract between the sheriff's department and us, but it is our facility, and I think that it would increase the longevity of it if we did install this.
Well, my point to Brian was that we have an agreement that we signed with the sheriff that says that they could use that facility, but all ongoing maintenance would be their responsibility, because it's not the obligation of the police jury to provide a substation or, or anything like that. Or we're going to keep repairing it.
We'll talk to the sheriff, huh?
Yes, he actually called me today and asked if I had it on the agenda. It will prevent further damage to the building.
Did you ask them about paying for it?
Oh, no.
It is our building, but we don't use it.
Do we charge them anything to use it?
No. So we just guidance at some point.
It's at your discretion.
Where do we
What
stop?
building is it?
The
Elaborate.
Laverdale.
But we did have a deal with him where he would do the repair work.
But it's very broad and it doesn't outline specifics as to where does it stop. Obviously, the storm damage that, that's a
just
little
says
bit different,
maintenance.
and we had insurance, so that we took care of that, but how far do we go? We may need to revisit that agreement and get it more specific.
Let's just ask him to pay for it and see what he said.
I'll do whatever you ask.
I think there are some things that the sheriff is paying for at the jail that the jury is responsible for. So let's,
Like what?
Like
there
what?
are some things that was brought to my attention. So let's just, I would advise us just table this. Let's talk to him first
Okay.
before we proceed with it. because it may end up costing us more than $4,000.
All right, got a motion to table, Mr. Ponville,
Second.
second by Mr. Carter, all in favor? Item table.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Nakane.
Sorry.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Nakane.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carter. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
You want to take personnel?
I'll take it. I'll call the 5:15 Personnel Committee meeting to order. Let the record reflect that Chairman, Mr. Diaz, is absent, as well as Mr. Alcorn. First item on the agenda, request approval for extension of leave of absence for equipment operator.
That is an employee that was granted leave 30 days ago. He's asking for some additional leave because he's still dealing with medical issues. And we just, he's not eligible yet for federal leave protection. So I'm just asking that we can maybe hold his job a little bit longer. He said he'd like to come back to work, but he's not finished with his medical issues yet. So we just pretty much holding his job.
Timeframe?
He's asking for another at least 2 weeks.
You recommend?
Yeah, he was a competent, viable employee, so I have no issue with that. We just holding the job for him, you know. That is correct.
I would do 30 days rather than 2 weeks.
Yes,
2
ma'am.
weeks goes by real fast.
Motion to approve 30 days extension.
Motion by Mr. Nakane,
Second.
second by Mr. Como. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Nakane,
Second.
second by Mr. Ponville. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
It's 5:20 Road and Bridge Committee, call the meeting to order. All members are present except the chairman, Mr. Ron Alcombe, Mr. Mama Thurn, and Mr. Mike Diaz. First item is request update on 2023 road overlay program.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
At the present time, we compiled the list, the road list that was requested from each juror. We've been to all road sites at this time, located all where you requested just patching instead of entire overlays and all that. We have at least 75% of those patches located and plans drawn as far as entire lengths of streets and locating those patches on the plan and profile pages at this time. Joseph's been working on revised, I guess you would say, each street cost estimate in regards to an overlay, a rough patch, finish patch. That's kind of where we at right now. We touched all wards so far. Obviously, this overlay entire street is pretty simple type plan and profile and details and, milling this and repaving back this thickness. The patching, we're looking more into it because there's some streets where they're calling out to address the culvert issues too at these intersections. So we looking at that as far as seeing if replace, resize. That's where the office is at right now with all the roads.
Estimated time on completion of the plans.
Estimated time, I would say in a matter of a month. At the longest. So pretty much plans, plan and profiles are pretty much laid out because you're just verifying because you got, added driveways, new mobile homes on sites, these type of things, which, might have. So we just going back and verify those like that. But we have a lot in-house already as in regards to the actual street needs to be drawn. So that's where we just compiling all the information, putting it on each street and be able to move forward. Now, I know in the past that sometimes that we provided the contractor, whatever police jury decides of, let's maybe move into Ward 2, 3, and 4 first. We can accommodate where if it needs, the schedule needs to be bumped and finalize those first, or if y'all want to do it where it's a whole kit and caboodle, give them all at one time. So I guess that would be something that maybe Joseph can have a conversation with y'all in regards to that.
Good evening.
I'm sorry.
I'm replacing Joseph for a moment. Don't know I'm retired, but anyway. I've been helping him with the road program, and the reason Brent says about 4 more weeks, Mr. Bonville, because all of the drawings for the roads have been done. The street's been laid out, so the drafting part of that has been completed. We're working on steps on what to put on that. So that's some added drafting that takes time. And we go back and forth as far as whether it's going to be, we add 3 inches, 2 inches, what have you, or we got to scrape and remove and so forth. So when he's saying 4 weeks, when Brent said a month, I said, about 4 weeks. And so that's pretty close. So I think the 4 weeks or the month's time is a good estimate.
Well, for one example, it's like the Rudy Cajun Road is asking to be raised and sloped. And so we need to look at, how much can we raise? How much can we slope according to existing driveway elevations? And I think we looked at this street already in regards to it. So we do have elevation shots and all that. Is just how much can we raise, how can we slope or whatever to the existing driveways where you don't have a big drop off or start damaging underneath the vehicles of the residents and those.
And you can't really, I know it's hard to say you're going to answer questions. Do you have any questions? But do you see these plans and so forth? I know you want to look at them and you want to decide, or you may have questions about them when we're completed. So unless you have some questions already, I assume you want to wait till we get done with them.
Well, I think the priority may be though to get us the estimates for the streets because we have not approved the list of streets yet.
Right.
That's what.
So
we need
That's
to-
something Joseph's working on, cost estimate.
So I don't think it plays to have an engineer set of plans on every street before we approve the actual streets that we're gonna overlay.
Well,
So every street that we give y'all is not getting done.
Right.
we understand.
Well, the reason for that too is they gotta have a price for us to decide
Yeah,
what
that's-
streets
that's
we're
what
gonna
I'm saying.
have.
And that's what we're looking for, an estimated price on.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
Well, I know he's going through, he's got to go through and estimate what he's going to do to him to come up with a price. So we're doing that now, and he's going to come back and give you a price. So I may be out of order telling you that, but that's what I know that we're working on each step on each location. So, like I said, I'm retired. He might be mad at me telling you that, but the fact is that he's going to get you. He knows he's got to get you a cost estimate.
Very problem with me, my streets. Me, Joseph never made the ride yet.
Okay.
We've been playing tag. I need to know.
He had to go out of town, but I'm gonna let him know that.
Yeah, because in warranty, you got quite a bit,
You can email me on this.
yeah.
Oh, he
I
did?
sent him, so, do that tomorrow.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Conville, second by Mr. Blanchard. Board committee meeting adjourned.
She looks like you.
Most of them grandmothers say,
Leroy said he's.
All right, let's go.
All right, on with the engineer and grant committee meeting. All members are present, except for Ron Alcorn. And, no, he's not on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Diaz. All right, first I update the project status and funding sources for GIS engineering.
So the only project that I did question about was the Constant Canal, that watershed initiative project. We are currently awaiting for the watershed, I'm sorry, LWI to send us, OCD to send us
CA.
a CEA so that we can move forward.
All right. Update from the grants coordinator.
I don't have much for y'all today. The Keep Louisiana Beautiful grant, which awarded us 10 trash receptacles for Gilbert Dupaty Park, has been closed. All documents for the water sector program have been submitted as they requested. The recreational trails grant for Gilbert Dupaty Park, it's walking trail. I'm working on that application with Joseph. The final day for the RFQs responses for the water sector program, it will be on the 20th. And we received the notice of being awarded the recreational trails program funding for the Belrose Library Walking Trail. But we can't move forward until we hear from the RTP administration staff.
Is it?
That's it.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Next item, request approval for a 1-foot hardship variance on the side property line of 7132 Highway 308, Ward 1.
I spoke to Mr. Alcorn about this one. He advised, he went and took a look at it, and he's requesting that we provide this hardship variance. So I'll make a motion.
But Justin, that.
Yeah,
that second two-
he's trying to build a shed and it's gonna be 1 foot closer to the property line than the neighbor.
Did the neighbor, sign anything?
Yeah, we
Yes.
got letters in.
Neighbor signed.
Okay.
We got
Motion
letters
approved.
in your packet.
Oh, second Leroy.
Motion by Leroy, second by Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Next was a request approval for a 2-foot hardship variance for the front right of way located at 125 Andrews Street in Ward 3. That's in my ward, and those lots, when they had made them, they're small, and he needs that variance. I agree with it.
So move. Second. Signature.
Motion by Jamie, second by Jeff. All in favor? Opposed? Next was a request approved for a 7-foot hardship variance on the front right of way located at 318 Cajun Street in Ward 9.
So they have a bayou right behind us or a canal. They can't really add on to the back. They're asking for 7 foot from the front variance from the 20 foot. Basically closer to the road, trying to add an addition to the house.
They're gonna be 13 feet instead of 20.
Yes, sir.
All of the houses up in that area.
They all, I mean, that's in back of Pepper, they're all pretty close to the road. I don't know if they're that close. I didn't go measure it, but
What it is.
That's Mars. They're pretty close. They got something that's close. I'm gonna make
Yeah.
that motion.
Okay, motion by Jamie,
Second.
second by Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The number 6, that's the one you want to table.
Yes, at this time, so we're removing some of the projects off the list, but I know Joseph went out of town. He hadn't had time to send me the amended contract yet with the updated project descriptions, and so we'll need that before we can approve the contract.
Okay, next item is update on Bertrand.
Okay, I can't answer that because I thought he did, but if he didn't, I'll check with him. You don't have.
No, we discussed what modifications he was gonna be making to the
So you
project.
knew he wasn't gonna have it today.
No, this was last week. We discussed it. We just didn't receive it. I put it on the agenda anticipating that we would have the revised contract, but we didn't receive it.
Okay. Well,
So we're just gonna table it till next meeting.
Okay, update on Bertrandville drainage outfall cleaning and snagging project.
I just should stay up every. I got bullet. That's no, so Bertrandville Canal project is being filled up and a new estimate will be provided once the final scope is determined. We will get with Mr. Carter to review the scope before finalizing. That's what I have on the bullet point. You talked to him about that?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on it to be completed, so we can get this project going.
Okay.
All right, that's satisfactory.
Okay, the next one is update on Jolimar Street drainage project.
The plans and specs are about 65% complete. They are, I know this because we already have the plan and profiles for those 3 streets over there, there's Jolimar, Scott, and Michael. And so the plans are just about completed because we already sized the culverts. And also there's a crossover culvert on Crossover Road. We may have to change that culvert out. But to get for a good flow of drainage down all of these streets, we have to make these adjustments. And I think you all already know that. And so plans, like I said, are about 65, 70% complete. This should be done within about a week.
The next item, to discuss the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Program and retracting application.
He says he's working with, on the permit application with DNR, which has been submitted. We are responding to request. They requested some additional information. And so he has to get back with them, and he will continue to update as we receive the feedback.
So that's Gerald Street project.
I'm reading the wrong one.
I can speak to you, Mr. Como, on the clean water. So that's the application that we put in for a sewer system
I'm
at the
sorry.
community center.
I'll tell you all about that.
We anticipated that, well, I guess we were under the impression that that would have been a grant program. And through the application, we learned that it was a loan program with a possibility of getting forgiven, but not a guarantee. So I'll make a motion that we retract that application for that program.
Second.
Motion by Leroy, second by Jamie. All in favor? Next item is request approval to authorize change of signature for Patrick Johnson to Leroy Blanchard.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Patrick, all in favor? Opposed? Update on Shell Beach property and request appraisal of Shell Beach property in Ward 9.
Myron asked to put this on the agenda because he's got some pretty positive news that he would probably get the funding for the Shell Beach property. So he asked that I put it on. So it's up for debate, not debate, discussion. I would assume that he would have to use his recreation funds for this appraisal.
That's why he would take it from.
Yeah.
That's right. I make a motion to approve that we go out for appraisal for the Shell Beach property.
Motion by Jamie. Second by Patrick, all in favor? Opposed? Next item is update on Gerald Street levy project.
That's one I misquoted on. I saw DNR and I thought that was what you were talking about, but like I said, he's waiting on a permit application. He has responded to them, and he's waiting to get some feedback from DNR because he's already submitted the permit and he should get it back. I don't think that's going to take too long. Joseph pretty much talks to DNR on a regular basis.
And in addition to that, from the conversation I had with him last week, he's going to contact Joe Mathern to meet with some of the residents along that alignment.
Okay.
Because they have some right-of-way issues that have not been resolved.
Very good.
All right, update on Lee Drive project.
He says work is progressing well. He said the drainage improvements are near completion. The contractor is currently installing elevation and leveling courses. Final wearing layers are scheduled to begin next week. Is that, you've been kind of
Yes, sir.
following that also pretty
Yes,
good.
sir.
I mean, you in agreement with all of that?
Yes, sir. They have one place that they have to re-level,
Okay.
but it's pretty much its own spot.
Well, Joseph's gonna be back shortly, and so I have to go to Washington.
Yeah.
I might have him here with you on it.
Perfect.
The update on the Tacopah Landing project.
It says currently all the RFIs have been addressed. The main bulkhead is complete. The contractor is preparing to install tiebacks behind the pavilion. And some of the concrete cap is completed at this time. The project's moving along. I mean, it's from what I see, I mean, the bulkhead's in, the cap is going on. I think the main thing is we have to put the cap on there. The ramp has to be finished. And they got to put some sheeting down on both sides of the ramp. And we've already discussed that with the contractor, and also the bathroom has to be completed. And I know y'all shrunk the size of the bathroom to, in order to cut back on some costs.
By Jeff, second by Jamie, all in favor? Opposed?
We'll call our regular meeting of June 9th, 2020, I'm sorry, June 14th, 2023. Everyone rise. Sorry, roll call, let the record reflect that jurors Mathern, Diaz, and Alcorn are absent. I'll leave with a prayer. God, who teaches us by sending the light of the Holy Spirit into our hearts, grant that by the light of that Spirit, right judgment may be ours, and that we may ever find joy in his guidance. Amen. Mr. Carter, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4, approval of minutes of May 10th, 2023 and May 24th, 2023. Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Carter. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Drainage Committee report.
Here's the Drainage Committee meeting was held this afternoon. We approved the sweep outfall behind Oak Lane. We approved our gate valve and a T at North Bay Road. We approved our pump replacement to clean out the pump basin, Ward 8. And we had one deviation to change out a culvert in Lower Texas Community. I present this all in form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Pineville, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Finance Committee report. The Finance Committee met at 5:10. We approved the payment of bills submitted through June 7th, 2023. We selected the physical agent for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025 for a 2-year period. And we approved authorization for the parish manager to seek additional prices for dumpster services for parish operated locations. Present this in the form of a motion.
Motion to accept that rate.
A motion to accept by Mr. Pineville. Second by Mr. Nakane. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel Committee. At 5:15, Personnel Committee met. We request approval of a 30-day leave of absence extension for equipment operator. That was the only item that we had.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept as read by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Road and Bridge Committee.
Road and Bridge Committee met at 5:20. We got an update on the road overlay program by Sawa Engineering, and everything should be complete within the 30 days. That form of motion.
Motion by Mr. Carter,
Second.
second by Mr. Pineville. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Engineering Grants Committee meeting, Mr. Como.
The Engineering Grant Committee met this afternoon. All members are present except for Mr. Ron Alcorn and Michael Diaz. We were given an update from the grants coordinator. We approved a 1-foot hardship variance on side property line of 7132 Highway 308, Ward 1. We approved a 2-foot hardship variance on the front right of way located at 125 Andrew Street in Ward 3. We approved a 7-foot hardship variance on the front right of way located at 318 Cajun Street in Ward 9. Number 9 was tabled. We were given an update on the Bertrandville Drainage Outfall Cleaning and Snagging Project, an update on Jolimar Street Drainage Project. We approved the retraction of the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Program and retract an application. We approved the change of signatures from Patrick Johnson to Leroy Blanchard for capital outlay grants. We approved to go out for appraisals for the Shell Beach property in Ward 9. We was given an update on Gerald Street levy project, an update on Lee Drive project, and an update on Takapo Landing project. That's all in the form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Como.
And one correction on that. Number 6 was tabled instead of number 9.
What?
You say number 9 was tabled, number 6 was tabled.
Well, I said, yes, 6. I was reading upside down.
So, motion by Mr. Como, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment period. Accept any public comment for any item on the agenda. Sir, Mr. Blanchard.
Short update on activities with the Battlefish Freshwater District. So at this time, would you like to hear anything, or I can wait till the end of the meeting?
Let's wait till the end of the meeting since it wasn't on the agenda, if you don't mind. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
I got put on the agenda because I have an issue I'd like to bring before the committee.
Let's see, he's on there somewhere. He's number 14.
Sure, can you come forward and, well, actually, we can have you come up during your item number 14.
What do you mean? We don't have any more copies out there? Follow along?
Second call, last call. Item 11, adopt the millage rates for the tax year 2023. Item A is adopt the millage rates for the tax year 2023, resolution number 1.
Motion approved.
You'll see the millages attached. In 2021, we rode forward, so we're at our max, except for the road lighting district number 1, where we maxed out at 15 mills, and all other millages are the same.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. Nakam, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 11B, adopt the other authorized millages and or taxes for the year 2023, resolution number 2.
These are the millages for, or should I say the rates, not millages, for the other districts, which are your gravity drainage districts, your drainage districts, and that's it. So you'll see resolution number 2. All those rates are again same as last year.
Motion by Mr. Pineville, second by Mr. Nakam. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passed. Item 12, discuss the noise ordinance. Ms. Judy Prejean.
Speak a little loud.
It's up here.
The mic's up here.
Oh, okay. My name is Judy Prejean, and I have some letters that I want to read from a couple of my neighbors, myself, and the noise across the street, directly across the street from my house. I've been dealing with this about the new owner took over, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse. All times of the day, you know, one will pull up, then another one will pull up, and we have these boxes, and it's rattling on my windows.
Can you state your address so we know where you're talking about? please?
Sure. Yeah, that I have that in my letter, so I'm gonna go ahead and read that, but I just wanted to go over, I had looked online, just to summarize that I know the policy and that I know y'all have this in effect. The general policy under the control and abatement of excessive noise. It is hereby declared to be the policy of the parish to prohibit unnecessary, excessive, and annoying noises from all sources subject to its police power. At certain level, noises are detrimental to the health and welfare of the citizenry, and in the public interest shall be systemically prescribed. And maybe gave me a copy of this. Noise, number 11, noise means any sound which unreasonably annoys or unreasonably disturbs humans and or which causes or tends to cause an adverse psychological or physiological effect on humans. 12, noise disturbance means sound which endangers the safety or health of humans or animals. A noise or disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensitivities or endangers or injures personal or real property. This is the point that I'm here tonight because of the excessive noise directly across from my house. I have a letter from my neighbor who lives right next door to me, and one from across the street who lives right next to the store. Okay, my address is, I've been living at 2877 Highway 1, Amityville since 1995, which is directly across the street from the convenience store Quick Stop. It'll be 4 years in November that I retired as a nurse from St. Joseph Manor as an assisted living facility in Thibodeau that I worked for 22 years. I can't remember having any issues with the previous owner, which was the little Vietnamese. He would open the store at 10 a.m. in the morning and close at 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And he would definitely be closed all day on Sunday. About 2 years ago, the new owner bought the store, and the issues with the excessive constant loud boombox noises have gone from bad to worse. I personally spoke on the phone at least twice with Sheriff Leland and said they definitely would monitor the issue. This was at least 2 years ago, and I have made numerous calls to dispatch to complain, and they would send the deputy over to the store. But I don't think they ever issued a citation of any sort, to my knowledge. I never was given that timeline that they did. The last time I spoke with a Deputy Boudreaux at my house on February 15th, because I would document everything as each time I would call. He came to my house and he told me when he drove up, he said, look, I had to talk to my supervisor so that I knew what to tell you. And he said, look, he said, my supervisor told me that you really need to talk to the Justice of the Peace because this is a civil matter. This was a civil issue, and she could maybe help me with the ongoing problem. So I did speak to Rosalind Peltier, the Justice of the Peace, and she told me, she said, this is definitely not a civil matter, and the sheriff's office needs to handle this matter. So Rosalind could not do anything with it because that's not in her jurisdiction. It's not civil. These individuals that come numerous times to the store in one given day, they park, leave their boombox on, go in the store, come out and gather and talk. And then when they leave, they put the boombox even louder when they leave the store, while my windows in all of my house are rattling. They just don't care, and they know that they can get away with it. They pass on the highway with all their windows down, with the boombox blasted, disturbing the peace and quiet of our community. So in closing, my neighbors and I deserve to have peace and quiet in our own homes. So I'm praying that what I have shared with you will lead to some resolvement. And I'm going to read my neighbors' letters too. I want to thank the police jury for letting me be on the agenda tonight. And the neighbors, the letters are not long. Okay, this is the Bernards. Their address is 2882 Highway 1, Labatteville. And it's a little house. They moved there and repaired, and they live there now. And they've been living next to the convenience store since 2016. And this is the letter that she typed for me, to whom it may concern. She typed this yesterday. The first few years of us living here, we have had no problems with the convenience store until it was sold to the new owners a few years ago. Since then, we have dealt with excessive loud music to the extent of having our wall fixtures and furniture rattle. The store stays open till 11 o'clock a.m. with lots of traffic and loud noise. It personally affects us when we are trying to sleep, as we can hear music and vehicles driving at excessive speeds to leave the parking lot. It is often hard to enjoy simple tasks such as watching television in our living room and being outside in the yard. We now have a large amount of littering and trash that gets thrown and blown into our yard when the garbage truck picks up the dumpster. Because I don't think these people use garbage bags. They just tear all kind of papers, put it in an open box, and when the garbage truck picks it up, everything starts flying into everybody's yard. And I've had to pick up a couple of things too, but it's not as bad as their yard. Okay. Please consider helping us and our neighbors have more enjoyable time in the comfort of our own homes. Thank you for your time, the Bernards. Okay, this is I'm facing the store. This is my neighbor right next to me toward the Pulliamville side. To whom it may concern, her name is Kimberly Verrett, and I currently reside at 2881 Highway 1 in Lavendale. I'm writing this letter in hopes to make you aware of an ongoing issue that continues to occur in the area of my home. When I purchased this home in December of 2021, I had no idea I would be subjected to the level of noise and complete lack of respect for others as I am enduring in this parish. If I would have been made aware of these issues prior to purchasing, I would have chosen to live elsewhere. The issues I face, mostly in the evening, are the loud music that is played from customer vehicles while at the gas station across the street from my home. I'm well aware that living along the highway, there is going to be noise, but this is a level of ridiculous with zero support from the law enforcement community. The cars sit idle in the parking lot with the loud music, bass, and profanities being played to a level that I can hear it from inside my home. I have a child with special needs, and often loud noises will frighten him. What about his rights? He is too young to understand. People just do not have respect for others. I understand that music will be played loudly at times, but this is so loud that the windows in the back side of my home are even rattled. I have been told that there is only 1 decibel reader in this parish, but I am highly educated individual. She's a school teacher. And I do believe when windows rattle, that is above the, if I'm saying that word right, decibel level, and is considered violating a noise ordinance. Also, the highway in this section should basically be a racetrack. I have had mailboxes and garbage cans destroyed due to foolishness and reckless driving leaving that parking lot of the store. When deputies are asked to monitor it, they claim they cannot do anything about it, or they cannot sit and watch. This is a complete lie because I see them all the time sitting in parking lots having conversations. The police department's job is to keep the community safe and to address issues. To be told there is no ordinance for noise and it's a civil issue is an unacceptable answer. Assumption Parish has an ordinance pertaining to noise. She said she looked it up online herself, and it's a civil issue. Civil issue is an unacceptable answer. Wait, I skipped a line. I'm sorry. Assumption Parish has an ordinance pertaining to noise. I would like to know how any of the officers or public officials would feel if someone did this outside of their home, frightening their children, and worse, endangering their safety. My question is, how long will it take before this issue is acknowledged? When someone loses control and hits someone's home, causing injury or death to an innocent person. As a resident of this parish and a concerned citizen, I urge someone to take a closer look at the complaints residents in this area are making. I firmly believe this is an issue that truly needs to be investigated, and some form of effort on the part of the parish needs to be taken before someone, most likely an innocent individual gets seriously injured. And I can vouch for what she's talking about. I know the specific car. I mean, he just about spins in the road. It's a high-powered Dodge Charger. I don't know who's driving it, but it's bad when he's out of control when he leaves that store. So I know what she's talking about. I had my mailbox. one of their cars, they left it running on Christmas Eve. I was out of town at my daughter's in Texas. And I don't know if he left it in gear, but his car backed up across, out of the parking lot, away from the store, into my ditch and destroyed, just about totally destroyed 3 mailboxes that's in line. Mine was totally destroyed and damaged some of my property.
Ms. Judy, recently, look, I feel for you, ain't no doubt. You shouldn't have to listen to your windows rattling at any hours of the
I
night, any
know.
hours of the day, without a
I
doubt.
know, yeah.
But you got a couple of issues there. Well, back up, we revisit our noise ordinance recently to pick up a different decibel on this base. And the sheriff is familiar with that in the decibel reader. What is it called?
It's the scale.
It's a scale that could pick up this nuisance noise, so unfortunately, you got to call. You got to call
Oh,
while the noise is going on, and deputy got to come and come to your house and read it from the house to pick up that noise with that meter.
They never offered to do
And
that.
that they need to do it. That's their job. The
Yeah,
ordinance is in
yeah.
place, but we work with the sheriff's office to tweak this ordinance just recently, within 60 days ago. Okay, recently. We had a couple other issues, so that,
Yeah.
but they need to. That's his job. That's the sheriff's department's
And I
job.
find, if you look up what noise, constant noise like that, listening to that day in and day out like I do, it does something to your head. My head it feels funny like sometimes, listening to
I
that. It's
agree
like
with
a
you, but
boom, boom.
we gotta find a solution.
What we need to do, we need to contact the sheriff, because this is what I'm seeing happening. When a citizen calls the sheriff department, the deputy goes out there and he takes it on his own to interpret our laws. We have laws on the books, ordinances, and those deputies interpret it. We need to talk to the sheriff and have him talk to his deputies about this. Just like she said, you call them to come check it, they don't come check it. Now, if you,
Or sir, what happens, I mean, I guess I got, they told me to call every time, but then when they misled me and told me, look, ma'am, you need to stop calling the sheriff's office. You need to go see the justice of the peace because this is civil.
see, that's taking it on their own to
They
do
were
that.
putting me off.
What you would need to do is call and talk to the sheriff himself.
I talked to Leland already.
What he said.
Well, I told him, I said, look, if you want to see what's going on, you need to come sit on my porch. Because I have another letter to read from Miss Wanda Gonzalez, because she comes drink coffee with me and we can hardly visit on the porch. She's been coming to my house.
Well, we know the problem you're having. But
Yeah,
I think
know.
the situation is with the sheriff's department.
Okay,
What was your last complaint?
And the
can I
store owner.
suggest something? I mean, I want to show you all these pictures that, and then I'm gonna read Miss Wanda's letter. I took these pictures, it's in a different parish, but it's a neighboring parish. And my question is, why can't we have these signs put up where these drivers would see a sign saying, low noise or no loud noise. This one is in Gonzales and it's a no loud noise ordinance, $500 fine. So, put up a couple of them in Libertyville one by the store.
That's what I jotted down.
Because if they know that it's gonna cost them money, and if they can't pay the fine, they go to jail, they might change their attitude about those boom boxes.
I think we should.
I
look at
think
that
put up
and
some
do-
signs.
Not just that, but also the store should have a monitor. They pay attention to what's going on outside.
Well,
They've had their share, I think, of trouble there, maybe 5 months ago, if not sure. And I
I've
think
talked
they've
with
got
him.
monitors where they can hear what's going on, so they can,
Oh,
I think,
believe me.
I'm not so sure if we are responsible for the sign, or should the store be responsible for the sign? Or we follow up to see what others may be
I
doing.
think the first thing we need to do, we need to send the store owner a letter saying, hey, He's somewhat responsible for everything,
Yeah,
you know?
I
So,
mean.
Ms.
if he-
Ms. Prejean, first of all, I would like you to give us a copy of the letters that you brought here, if you'd like to leave them with us. So
Okay.
what
I
what
have-
I'll commit to you to do is I'll work with Mr. Johnson, this is in his ward, and we'll communicate with the sheriff and find out why our current ordinance isn't being followed. I understand the point of adding signage. The problem is we have an ordinance in place. It's not being enforced properly by the sheriff's office. Adding an additional modification to the ordinance that won't be enforced is not gonna solve anything. We need the existing ordinance to be enforced by the
That's
sheriff.
I can get to more copy for
And
that.
we've just worked with him. He requested that we change the ordinance so that he can cite for the bass and the high pitched noises as well. So we need to find out with him why this is not being enforced. So I'll work with Mr. Johnson. We'll get this to the sheriff and ask for a response from the sheriff to give us to the jury of what he's gonna do to change the
Another thing that
enforcement.
the deputy Boudreaux had told me, he said, ma'am, he said, look, I feel for you. He said, I understand where you're coming from, but he said, if we fool too much with this store, he can sue the sheriff's office. I said, oh, really? I mean, you
Ms.
know.
Judy, when was your last complaint to the sheriff's office?
February the 15th.
February-
15?
Oh,
You know, Chris.
She stated it a while ago.
February 15.
yeah, February, yeah, I do, I have my little, let me see.
He said it, that's how.
I got it. I got my little notes, all my little documentation. Well, no, May 31st. I called at 10 o'clock at night. I just went to bed and I could hear the noise and I called. And I said, honey, I said, look, I've been calling for 2 years and nothing has ever been done to enforce the law of disturbing the peace. So yeah, May 31st was the last time I called. This is a copy. I'm gonna give it. Okay, let me read Ms. Swan, and I have one more question.
I
I know.
interrupt you. I don't think we need to listen to any more letters. What you need to do is get in touch with the sheriff. And every time that you hear the noise, call. And when the deputy come out there that don't know what they're doing, ask to speak to a supervisor. If they come to your house and don't put out a meter in your yard and take the readings, then they're not doing their job.
Okay, well, he talked with his supervisor before he came talk to me. And he said that that's what his supervisor had told him. He said, you need to contact the police jury. I
Sure,
mean,
but
I'm sorry, the justice and the peace.
the sheriff is our law enforcement officer for our ordinances for the parish. We're gonna follow up with him and provide to him the letters that you have indicating his officer's response and the lack of enforcement. And we'll get a response from him as to why it has not been enforced.
Okay, I had another question I had to ask y'all. I had to, and I can't find it. Okay, right here. It's short. Okay, well, you might have just answered it, so don't, whatever. Who is responsible for seeing that this current noise ordinance is enforced? Is it the police jury or the sheriff's office? And what is the solution that's gonna fix this? Will y'all be willing to put up some noise ordinance signs showing what the fine is? I think that needs to be done. So they can see that there is a fine.
I mean, we have no problem. I don't think we have a problem putting signs up, but if they can't enforce the policy, the ordinance, what's good the signs gonna do? And they're not gonna enforce it.
I would definitely try to sign, you know.
Let us get with the sheriff. We'll get with him.
And what about the store owner, you know, putting some type of, getting some print up, no loud noises at my facility, at my store?
We can't make the owner do that.
Huh?
We can't make the owner put that up. I mean, we can't tell the store owner what to put up on his property.
But he can monitor the noise. He has to hear that inside that store, which you're hearing.
Well,
I think Leroy came up with a good idea, get with Patrick Johnson and get with the sheriff and they'll find out what's going on. We can't keep going on with this.
Mr. Frazier, do you have an email address or a phone number that we can contact you with? Would you leave it with us so that we can send you the correspondence that we have with the sheriff?
This is copies. I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
not a problem.
Let's see.
Email address.
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, something has to be done or I'll be back. I mean, I appreciate that y'all listen to me to read all of this so that y'all could get a good, to the point idea of what's going on, but it's getting worse.
That's for your direction number. Your email.
Yes, ma'am, so they can respond.
We will move on to item 13, request a letter of support for Delta Builds, Dr. Dorothy Names. Narum.
Yes. How's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah, how are you?
Good, thanks. I was here a couple of years ago
Yes, you-
and remember some of your faces. So I've got a very short presentation.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, Ms. Judy.
I don't think it's long enough.
Pull it over there.
May not reach, may have to come right here.
Okay. All right. So I am Dr. Dorothy Nairn, and I'm living in Napoleonville. So I want to have a couple of images so that you get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So I have a for-profit business called Delta Builds, and we're seeking to be the premier supplier of eco-friendly building materials and household products, including products made from, guess what? Bagasse. So you'll see the picture of it when, yeah. And if not, you know what it looks like. So we want to make things like those coffee stirs that you use, that you get from Racetrack and Starbucks and places like that, and cutlery, forks, knives. So instead of plastic, we're gonna eliminate plastic and use cutlery and straws too. There they are. So we can take bagasse and make all these things. It's not being made yet in the United States. So imagine if we build a micro factory here in Assumption Parish near the sugar mill. We need land, of course, working on that. The machinery, gonna get some funding, and then the certification. So I've got some bowls over here to show you that are made from sugarcane waste, but where are they made? India. Where can we make it? Right here in Assumption Parish. So what does it take? It takes money for one. So I am a amazing grant writer. And so I have been writing grants, and our good old government, especially at the federal levels, the EPA, the Department of Energy, USDA, and all sorts of rural development, because 20% of the federal government's funding is supposed to go to areas like ours. And there are pitch competitions because women-owned businesses are supposed to get more funding, and funding that also goes to socially and economically disadvantaged individuals like myself, and funding from the private sector. So there's all kinds of grants out there that we're going after. So over the past few years, I have built up all kinds of strategic partnerships, including with local churches, because the effort really is not just to build and to manufacture really good products, but it's also to eliminate poverty. So we've got all kinds of strategic partnerships with Propeller and Southern and the state, the Urban League, Essence Magazine, and all sorts of other technical support kinds of organizations. So what about your support? Can I get the support from Assumption Parish here? I'm not asking for money, just letters of support, because that goes a very far way, long way. So what I would do is write the letter of support for you per contract, per grant, and then you say, I'm not saying that, or say that too, and then you sign it, and that's it. So I'm asking for letters of support from the police jury, because ideally every level of government and all partners would agree to writing letters. So, and supporting such a project, which aims to create jobs, aims to eliminate poverty, and to do good on our planet with our environment. So what say ye?
Yeah, I really like the idea. I mean, I know we have a surplus of bagasse in this area.
A
We're
lot.
sugarcane capital, and if we can capitalize on it, I don't see anybody, in this jury that would be opposed to that for sure. Have you had any response from the sugar mills and their?
Guess who I talked to tonight? Mr. Savoy. And he was like, call my son. So, because they've got all these sugar mills around and there's a sweet buildup. So to get that, and then to also look at having, who's gonna haul it? Not me, but rather working with small businesses so they can haul the bagasse. So we're looking at job creation, we're looking at business development, and we're looking at doing something good on our planet that doesn't poison people, but rather does good on people, because we can take that product, and let me show you quickly these little bowls here. And so I'm working on some patents as well. So we can get some patents. Look at these bowls. So we can do all kinds of bowls and forks and knives and things. So as the country in places goes towards eliminating plastic, we've got the answer. So.
And the product, the science is done, it know how to be made, but you need a facility here.
Exactly.
Put the
So we
letter
need the
together and
facility.
look at it.
All right.
Recommendation.
So, but we want to have also a workplace that has childcare in the workplace, aftercare in the workplace, so that we've got jobs for women and men who might have kids, so, and pay well, because there are all kinds of incentives too that the state has for job creation, for people coming out of prison to stay out of prison, all those kind of things. So it can work and we can do it.
Sure. And I would also encourage you for any grant-specific language that you need on an individual basis, if you like a letter for each particular grant, we'd like to consider that for each grant, not just one general letter to
Right,
cover them
right.
all.
Oh, no, I'll write
But-
one per grant, and then it also says what's the commitment, if anything, like working with the school, working with, because that's the other thing, we can train people, because these are jobs using these machines that don't require a whole lot of education. So people who might be up and out late driving around, maybe they can come to work too, so that because when people are doing things, they don't have time to be out playing loud music all the time.
Questions on the back.
Hi, are you planning on doing any export?
Well, let's see where we can go, because I know the US needs a whole lot of,
And the reason why I said that, I'm on the Louisiana District Export Council,
okay,
and one of my plans, I just relocated back here. And my name is Raynell Lewis of Hugo. I went to school with you, Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of my target efforts is they are highly focused on the rural communities. And one of the reasons why I relocated here is because I want to bring that portion here. There is a lot of grant money for that as well. So, and I just started up a company. I'm getting ready to go live with it as far as an export business, transportation, so the whole 9 yards for the franchise. So there is a lot of opportunities for what she's saying.
Yeah.
For other countries that would need that. And the big push is from the government side is to get more of our commodities exported out and be less consumers and more exporters. So
yes.
there is a strong initiative that would definitely bring a lot of funding from the government into our parish.
Well, Dr. Narum, thank you for bringing your positive energy to us here.
We're talking in the audience, I'm not. You need shot glasses?
Do I have eyeglasses?
Shot glasses.
Shot
We in
glasses.
South
Or we can
Louisiana.
do shot glass and those clam containers that every church in the parish gives out when they have meals.
Yeah, you're
We're
right.
gonna do all of it.
Shot glasses, South Louisiana.
All right, to-go cups,
I
right?
don't need royalties on that
Well-
here.
So you have a pledge of our support, and whenever you need the letters, you send them on to us and we'll get them approved for you. And thank you for your interest in building this in Assumption Parish.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You can pass out some cards or anything?
No cards, because we're trying to go paper-free, paperless, too much paper.
Bag ass.
Yeah. Bag ass, back that gas up.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
One thing about it, it's a renewable source.
Exactly, and it can add nitrogen to the soil.
Our next item is discuss revision to livestock ordinance. Mr. George Jackson.
I want to follow your presentation on that.
Good evening.
I'd like to thank the committee for this platform. My name is George Jackson. We live on Dogwood Lane in Lavityville, 115 Dogwood Lane, and we have a chicken problem. Most of the residents are property owners but there's one rent house across the street from ours. And about a year ago, a tenant moved in with chickens, and they've been a nuisance ever since. I spoke with several people about this problem. I spoke to the chicken owner first. That was my first stop. I contacted the property owner to no avail. I'm not going to tell you what he told me to do. It was a waste of time. I contacted the Sumter Sheriff Department, and the deputy came out and she gave it her best shot. It worked for probably a week or 10 days. I called the Sheriff's Department a second time, and that's when I found out that there was no ordinance pertaining to chicken, ducks, geese, etc. I also contacted the constable, Don Michael. He recommended getting the ordinance changed. I mean, me not being a politician, I'm not too familiar with how you go about doing all this. But then I found out about Miss Rosalynn Partridge. Coach, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And now I stand before you. I feel it's disrespectful to the property owners that own property there. And this man that owns these chickens, he's a renter, and he has no regard for our property at all. These chickens, they dig your flower beds, they crop on your driveway. I've had to plant my backyard garden twice because of these chickens. They crow all hours of the night and day. And the chicken coops or whatever they call them, well, he could do a lot better than what he's doing. They're an eyesore. They decrease the value of the property, of course. If someone wanted to sell their property, no potential buyer, once they drive down that street, is going to want to buy a home next to a chicken coop. There's blight in the neighborhood already without having a bunch of chickens all over the place. So I'm asking that the ordinance be amended or revised to include chicken, ducks, geese, etc. It's also my belief that renters should not be allowed to have this type of animal, and if so, must be penned up at all times and limited to how many they can have due to the limited space and noise. And it also presents an odor. So I'm asking the committee, if at all possible, can we amend this ordinance or have it revised to include chickens? Thank you.
George, I want to address you, sir, and the jury. So it was brought to my attention what your issue was. I'm actually the animal control superintendent for the parish.
Thank you.
So I've been reviewing different parishes, rules and regulations. And there's a process to bring in an ordinance that concerns your issues.
Okay.
And I'm gonna follow that process. And we're gonna bring it to our AD's attention and make the round and call the public. We're gonna do everything we can to try to accommodate your issue and help you out. We do need to make some ordinance changes.
Make that change.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
You're gonna take that as an action item?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 15, discuss continued years of service requirement as related to Joe Roy Jamie Ponzo.
I think my legal opinion was pretty straightforward, and if anybody has any questions, I can answer them. As far as I'm concerned, it's a moot issue at this stage, but.
I make a motion that we vote to continue Mr. Jamie years of service, make it continuous now, stop. Whatever date started.
A motion by Mr. Carter, second by Mr. Nakane, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss policies and procedures for private events in public parks. So
I know the sheriff texted me over the Memorial Day holiday weekend, and there was something circulating on Facebook. Don't do Facebook, but he shared with me what it was making reference to an event that's coming up in July. And it's just some things we're just not gonna allow in a recreational park. So I don't know what discussion you've had with it. But I do think we need to set some criteria for what is allowed and what isn't.
absolutely. So I know, like, if we have an event at one of our buildings, community center or, 4-H born, we have a rental agreement basically, and there's security requirements and so forth. But I know we've been having a couple large functions at these parks but it's left to the parish to absorb the cost of cleanup and preparation in these parks. It's, so I think we need to look at coming up with a rental agreement if they're gonna have something like that on one of the public spaces, to where they have to provide security. And, you know, and then we can compensate our parish employees from it. Now, whether it be, you know, so our recreation district by Lewis, recreation district in Fairport, they have private events all the time that are held by the recreation district. The parish employees aren't required to do anything to provide for those. So I think something similar needs to be set up for the rest of the parks in the parish.
Maybe we get a committee and together and we work on that, because there is some things that we should not allow in a recreation park.
I agree. And this would, I don't know the specifics of it, but the flyer did indicate that there may be some not family friendly.
Terminology and.
That's right. So some of the events there may not be family friendly in the family park.
I think most of the jury police their own parks. I mean, I had an event that they wanted to hold at one of my parks, a Super Sunday. I just pretty much told them, you know, we don't allow that at the park. You know, for cleanups, whoever holds something at the park, whoever ran it for the event, they clean up after. Now, I have never had a problem with nobody cleaning up the park, but when it comes down to having certain events, I know Ron have did it in the past. If it's something that we see not fit for the area, we don't let them have it. Too big for the area, we don't let them have it.
We just have nothing in place to protect ourselves from something that goes on at one of these parks to require security detail or something like that. But we require a security detail for a wedding reception at the community center.
So what we're gonna go to, if somebody want to have a birthday party at the park for a 6-year-old, we like for security?
Oh, I think it depends on the attendance of the event.
And that's what we're doing right now. We policing it our own self, our own community. We know who's using the park. We know what kind of events it are. So we see the need for security. We tell them, y'all gotta have security. And you can't have security, you can't use the park for that event.
Has that taken place for this event?
So what we're gonna do with this event that you're referring to, or we brought this discussion up, we are not allowing the event.
Okay. Any other action on this item?
No, when they make reference to just a graduation, you know, that's something different, but then you start speaking of other things that if you saw the
Sure.
flyer, there's two components and you're perfectly in order when you make reference to, it makes reference to a rapper as well. So that's somewhere hidden in that flyer as well. And then the other thing that could be a little bit explicit, it just won't happen in a recreation park, and we will not have concerts without just in our recreation park.
Have you been in contact with that promoter to?
No, nothing to do with the person that's looking to have the.
That's what I'm talking
Yes,
about.
yes.
You have been in contact
Yes.
with them? Okay.
And the sheriff has as well.
And whoever usually parks, they clean.
Yeah, they clean up behind themselves.
That's not all completely accurate, right, Paul?
Correct. I mean, they clean up, but we have to clean the ditches. We have to go get the product that's cleaned up. And I was maybe looking at seeing if I could get with, and then I brought up about maybe us supplying some dumpsters to some of these parks, but that's just going, it may just fill up, from people. We deal with that attacker part, they fill up that attacker part.
Well, what did you have to clean up?
Well, it's more Dupatit, it's more Dupatit than anything else. It's not Skidmore. But Dupatit can collect a lot of trash in the on the fields, in the field and on the.
They collect a lot of trash at Dupatit. I pass by it after events. And most of the time, Dupatit parks, they got the trash in the trash bag. Now, every once in a while, you might get a dog to hit the trash bag or something like that bust over overnight. But after every event, these people are cleaning up these parks. Ron makes sure of it. And then they gotta come back out the next day for the next, they come back.
I'm not disputing that, Chris, you're right, but it just takes my workforce sometimes, half the day to clean the bathrooms and go and move that trash to our dumpster in the Porterville. It can be somewhat labor intensive.
I'll tell you what, let's add a dumpster to every park.
May I say something about that street? Because I live on that street. And I've called Ron several times last year. People are dumping mattresses inside of the ditches. So if we have a flood or the weather gets really bad, guess what? that water's not going anywhere. There's trash all in those ditches, and it's really unacceptable. What I asked for was really simple. We make a simple one-time cleanup down that street, put a sign up about no littering, and we're gonna find them. And we hold the neighbors accountable in front of their properties to make sure that that street stays clean, because being poor don't mean being trashy. So let me put it that way. I bought property up the street, and I didn't come to move into a project. I came to help revitalize my community, make sure my mom was taken care of. And I knew when that community started, they were proud people, and they put everything they had into their homes, and now their children took over their homes, and they never worked for anything, so they don't understand the value of what it means to take care of something. That's just the reality of where we are in today's society.
Yes.
And we need to hold them accountable. Yes, fine them, take them to jail if that's what it means. But we need to hold people accountable to make our community what it should look like.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Well,
So,
what you talking about is something totally different from using the park and with the trash at the park. That's something totally
No,
different.
the park itself is clean,
Yes.
but if you drive down the street by the park,
Yes.
there is literally mattresses right across from the park where they cut the grass in the ditches with beer bottles, cans, and the like. Now, whether it came from the people in the park or other people came to do that, but it's becoming a dumping ground, and it should not be.
So I guess get with Ron and see if he want to put a dumpster in his park or not. I know he tried it before and it was,
I don't want to go.
No,
it didn't work
I
out.
recommend the signs and enforcing the law. And I live on that street, so I'm telling you, enforce the law. The people, I've talked to many of the neighbors that own properties there, and they're asking for law enforcement to enforce the law.
so I'll follow up with Ron too, and just see whenever he gets back, if we can see what we can do to address those issues. It may be that we can look at having Paul's crews track how much they're spending at these parks, and then that come from the recreation budget to supplement the hourly time, you know, the time that's being spent.
I think it's already charged.
It's not charged to, well, if
It's
it's
allocation.
specifically Dorseyville, yeah.
Yeah, it's charged to Ward One Recreation, so he's paying for it. That's not the issue, just that it can be time consuming and labor intensive. But she makes a valid point. Some of that trash money that come from the event, it may be come from the people on the street.
No, I want to correct you. It does not get charged to Ward One Recreation. It gets charged to parks, which is still general fund.
Okay.
But the recreation allocation is separate.
It needs to be charged to recreation.
Yeah, needs to be
It's
charged to
not, it's
recreation.
charged to parks.
So why is it being charged to parks?
Well,
Mine is right.
because not all parks can have enough money to pay for it. We have a division out of general fund that allocates for all park maintenance. So if we're gonna have to pull out all park maintenance, that means everything's gonna have to go to the board. Just say the word and we'll do it.
But it could go to their recreation.
I understand that. I understand
allocation.
what you're saying, but what I'm telling you is the $10,000 allocation annually is not gonna
It's
be able
not-
to
it's not
satisfy.
enough.
It's not gonna be enough.
It's more than that.
With
When you
utilities,
start putting in utilities.
utilities
Yeah.
and labor,
Yeah.
you know, it, for special projects, it's not gonna be enough.
What about a millage?
The millage just won't work in certain
It's not gonna
areas.
pass.
Just won't happen.
No action on item 16. Item 17, request approval of an operational license for Hoyt Flooring LLC Napoleonville and Maxim On-Site Solutions LLC Laverdale.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nakane, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item 18, discuss and consider observing July 3rd, 2023 as a legal holiday as proclaimed by the governor.
Mr. Blanchard just asked me what was my thoughts on this. I have no thoughts on this. I was asked to present this to you all by the staff. I'm just putting it out there.
3rd of July.
So if you read the proclamation, it says that the 3rd of July is a Monday and the 4th of July falls on a Tuesday. So the governor is saying that he wants Monday to be a holiday for the state. You guys know my position on this.
I know Leroy.
We can't just keep adding holidays in. Monday is not a holiday. It's unfortunate, but if you want to take a day of leave or whatever, get your supervisor's approval. We have a route for that. If you want a long weekend, but
But is he
I-
wanting to make the July the 3rd a legal holiday every year?
No,
No.
no, no,
No,
no.
it's just
It's
because it falls
because
on
of
a
Just
Monday.
because of this?
Because how it fall, you.
Right.
So basically, we're gonna have come Monday, most everything in the port will be closed down Monday and Tuesday. And then the police will be open for business. That's what it is. So our workers are asking for to have that day off
Yeah.
also. You know, I'm always one for the workers. You know, they put in a lot of hard work for us, do anything that we ask, putting a lot of overtime we ask them to do. So I'll make a motion that we declare it a holiday.
Second.
We got a motion by Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor? I'll be opposed. Matter of principle.
Well, if it's only for this, because of the Monday.
But it's
thing, I wouldn't
always-
want to make
Well,
it.
it does happen from year to year when a holiday falls on a Monday or Tuesday like that.
Yeah.
He does do that sometimes. Leroy, just to make you feel more comfortable with their decision, there is a clause in the policy that states this board has the right to add in.
I certainly understand. It's
Okay.
just, if it was meant to be a holiday, it would have been declared for all the time. I'm just not in favor of just throwing out additional holidays out there. I mean,
So
the
the motion
report needs to
passed?
be productive.
Motion passed.
Item 19, request approval of the second phase of the derelict structure procedure for a dwelling located at 138 Convent Street in the Lavaville Community Ward 2.
Second phase, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Nakane,
Second.
second by Mr. Pondville. All in favor? Opposed? On item 20, I was requested that we table this for this meeting and add it to our next meeting if the issue has not been addressed. So basically, they're asking for another 2-week reprieve to address this issue.
That's your ward, okay.
So I'll table number 20, and Ms. Donna will put it on the agenda preliminary that we have to remove it. If it's taken care of, we'll remove it.
Okay.
Item 21, request approval of the first phase of the derelict structure procedure for dwelling located at 107 Timothy Street in Pierreport Community Ward 9.
So move.
Y'all take a look at the picture.
We do it, but is it the first phase, you sent a letter. You know, hopefully.
Just to get it straight.
I see it. I
It's not-
mean,
It's not that bad.
Just send them a letter just to get it straight.
get it wrong. The hardest is to repair or, I mean, that's repair.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Pineville, second by Mr. Nakane. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We'll get an update from Mr. Blanchard after we close the meeting, if y'all okay with that, or would y'all want to
Let's get it while you're in.
officially deviate and add it onto the agenda?
You can answer the-
Motion,
All right. So the deviation would be to hear from Vital Foods Freshwater representative on the update.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Nakane to deviate, second by Mr. Carter. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Good evening. Ernie Blanchard. I'm the commissioner representing Assumption Parish on the Vital Foods Freshwater District. Just want to bring you guys up to date on a couple of projects that directly affect Assumption Parish. And so at the last time I gave you an update, I told you about the Barataria Terrebonne National Estuary Program. That's based at Nichols. They have a quarterly management conference and they talk about environmental projects and how it's funded. And I want to make sure by my attending these meetings on behalf of the police jury and the Vital Foods Freshwater District that we get our share of things that should come our way. And so Dustin Rabelais, who's the executive director, he also went. Right now, there are no projects directly affecting our parish from this quarterly meeting. These are environmental projects. A lot of things going on in Jefferson Parish, down toward Lafourche and Terrebonne. Well, we did make some good contacts there with the Barataria Terrebonne National Estuary Program. We met Dr. Andrew Barron. He's the water quality senior scientist, and he's the guy that's going to get additional funding for this home sewage assistance program we talked about. And right now, the home sewage assistance program for the parish is in place, but there's no funding. So he's working to do that. What we did clarify is it's going to cover Assumption Parish, parts of Ascension, and Lafourche for people that own property along the bayou, but also partly watershed properties that feed the bayou. I think several of the jurors asked me that question. We did clarify that. So we're working with him with the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District to make sure we get this funding in place so that we can have our residents apply for these grants. So it's all grants through the Barataria Estuary Program. There's one in place called Bayou Falls, and that money's pretty much run out. It's a wildly successful program. I think we want to get some money on our end. And so when I find out that the project's been funded again, I'll let you guys know so we can get the word out to everyone else.
Ernie, is there something that we need to do in advance with those lateral streets that feed into the bayou to a canal that makes its way through outfall to the bayou? Is what you were just speaking
There's a
of.
testing program. They do that. They test that water to see what a fecal coliform is. That's why they find it. There's a heat map I think I sent the president of police Jerry showing where they did this survey where the hot spots are for fecal coliform. And Assumption Parish has some hot spots. And so you can remediate that at the water plant. But we still want to eliminate this raw sewage going to the bayou. I drink that water. I know you guys drink it. We don't want to have that. So one of my pet projects being on a commission is to control this and not get sewage in the bayou. That's what this is all about. But I understand your point, and we're going to get some, find out who is actually going to do additional testing for these outfall canals or ditches, whenever that feeds. There's some places in Lafourche Parish it happens. Subdivisions that are not on the bayou feed through canals, and it gets in. And what they're actually doing is building some community treatment plants with these grants. So I'm keeping a good close eye on that. So that's the good news on that end. We have contacts with the management and of the Barataria National Estuary Program. The pump station in Donaldsonville resumed construction. It was delayed because it stopped. There was high water levels, and the Corps of Engineers made them stop. They were driving piles and near the levee. You can't do that. So it's all back on operation again. Just as a matter of numbers, there's 168 days they've been working on it out of 928. So it's going to be a couple of years before you see this extra water coming from Donaldsonville. And when that happens, then they're going to have the funding for the dredging, which is going to be from the Black Bridge by the high school all the way down to past Lafourche Parish. So that's my update. If you have any questions on things that are concerned, you have any concerns about the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District, I'm here along with Greg Nolan. He's the other commissioner that represents the parish. We want to be proactive and get information out to you guys in a timely manner. And so we're going to look out for that kind of stuff, and we'll be, get on the agenda next time. So we'll have to vote on it. But any questions for me?
Could you give us a quick update on the Friends of Bayou Lafourche project?
Yeah, we did. You want Brian?
So
We had a meeting this morning.
yes, we had a meeting this morning about concerning the handrails for Friends of Bayou Lafourche. And previously he showed some drawings and different things on handrail systems and other parishes and locations. Ultimately, most of those are wood. I knew that we had previously approved a certain dollar amount, but we had no as-built drawings to go from to build this type of handrails and make sure we're in ADA compliance. So I proposed to them that with some more engineering, working with them guys, that we may be able to facilitate a metal handrail system that's ADA compliant, and we'll get the longevity out of it. We won't have to continue to replace wood that's damaged and weathered. So that's kind of where we're going with it right now. We're going to work towards getting some engineering through the state, so we don't have to go out for engineering and help us in coalition to make sure we're in compliance with ADA handrails and we don't have any issues when we go to put it in.
So parish manager and assistant parish manager were there today, along with Matt Revere. He's the executive director for the Friends of Bayou Lafourche,
Right.
who's managing this project, but it was funded through the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District and other agencies. And so it's at a standstill right now to get these handicap ramps built on only one section of it that goes down to the bayou. And in Thibodeau at the, when they removed the weir, that's metal ramps on that ramp, metal rails on that ramp.
Correct.
The Nickel State one is wood, and there's one other one that's wood. So we had a good meeting. We're gonna get DDG Engineering to send us a plot plan with detailed drawings so that it's all in compliance, so that later on, if something was not done right, the police jury couldn't be held liable for something that was installed that was not compliant. And so I think the guys agree with that. I'm gonna back them up from the freshwater district side, and we'll get Friends of Bay Lafourche to push and get the engineering drawings for us. Because if we don't, we're gonna have to get the parish engineer to draw it up for us. That's additional expenses. But right now, we don't have enough detailed drawings, like a plot plan, to show how much needs to be done.
And they also gave us some information that even as we progress, there are some additional things that have to be done with the landscaping portion of it and other things. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Full Reconstruction has a punch list on landscaping and erosion and drainage issues that they have to take care of.
Loading dock also.
Thank you for the update.
Okay.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Pineville, second by Mr. Carter.
Don't you have to do another public comment section?
No action was taken, it was just an update.
Gotcha.
So motion by Mr. Pineville, second by Mr. Carter, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adjourned. Passes.